All right, well, it is about 1:05, so I'm just going to go ahead and launch in. I have a couple slides to share. Well, first of all, welcome everyone to QuickBooks 101 Desktop with our speaker today, Damon Watkins. I will be sharing a few slides before we get started. Just quick housekeeping items. If you do have a question, go ahead and just use the raise your hand function or just type your question directly in the chat. I will be monitoring it so I can let Damon know if I see anything come up during the session. All right, quick little intro about who we are. The Cal Poly CIE SBDC is a program that is built to assist local businesses. We are part of a national program of over 1,000 locations throughout the US. Our center serves San Luis Obispo County, and we do that by, as I said, assisting small businesses. We provide no-cost consulting and trainings for entrepreneurs and startups. And we help you to launch your business into the next phase of growth or to start it off from, its humble beginnings. We are your team here to support you. And if you are not a client, there is the website to sign up. I will also send that out after the webinar. And a quick thank you to our sponsors. The way that we are able to provide our assistance at no cost is we are funded by grants through the SBA and the California Go Biz as well. We are able to provide that assistance through their grants as well as some local sponsors, such as Bridge Bank. And normally this is where our sponsor contact from Bridge Bank would give a brief introduction about their services, but she was unable to make it today. So I'll just kind of give a quick glimpse into their services. Bridge Bank offers support to small businesses as well. Through banking, they are able to connect you with knowledgeable bankers who can bring that sort of entrepreneurial spirit to meet the needs of your company and help to take care of your banking and financing so you can focus on the big picture. So if you have any small business banking needs, Bridge Bank is an excellent option for you. And without further ado, I will go ahead and pass the mic over to Damon Watkins. Again, if you have any questions, type them in the chat or raise your hand, and I will keep an eye on that there.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Damon Watkins. I am the Director of Finance and Operations at Cal Poly CIE. One of my primary roles over there is managing a number of grants and budgets associated with the different departments in Cal Poly that we support. The biggest of which is the SBDC, which is there to support local business, just like Madison said, in many different ways. And today specifically, I'm going to be teaching a class on QuickBooks 101, the beginning steps of what it takes to set up QuickBooks, get it going for you, enter invoice, pay bills, and ensure you're doing the necessary things to be getting QuickBooks running effectively. I will highlight the fact that we offer more than one class in regards to QuickBooks. This is our very beginner's class where I start from a perspective that you have literally no knowledge. So bear with me as I go through the initial parts of this, if it is a little redundant, but I need to ensure I'm communicating some key points as we go through this. With that said, I do an intermittent class as well at the mid-year point that if you're signed up with the SBDC, you will receive notification on. And then I do a tax class at the end of the year to really wrap everything up with what is necessary to close your books out at the end of the year. A couple of key points I'd like to just touch on real quick before we dive into things. Madison talked about what the SBDC does locally. I'd like to really speak to that group as a whole and what an impact they can have on small businesses locally. They offer a number of different consulting lines, no matter what business or line you are in, and they are able to support and help your business grow through a number of different matters, whether that involves marketing, finance, or any other area that you may be looking into, and including investment. So understand this is a state-run program that is there to support the lifeblood of local businesses, which is the people we're talking to today. And they understand the importance of that, and we hope that everyone here has signed up to become an SBDC client. With that said, I am going to go right ahead and jump into our PowerPoint presentation today. Traditionally, I do this class in person from a beginner's perspective only because It tends to be more engaging from a individual interaction perspective. So as I proceed through these slides, since this is a rather small class, don't hesitate to raise your hand or ask questions along the way. Number one, it makes it a little bit more engaging, but it helps me have a better understanding of what is taking place with your business, where you're at, and what you're looking for. Most importantly, when we get to the end of this presentation today, don't hesitate to reach out and set up a follow-up appointment so that we may sit down and dive deeper into what your financial needs may be relating to getting QuickBooks set up for your business. This is one of the key steps that I like to iterate before we start this process, only because every business is different in the way that we go about running it. But this initial setup part that I'm going to go through today relates to everybody out there. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is to take the time to ensure that you have set your QuickBooks up correctly. That involves setting up your chart of accounts, having your vendors in the system, and most importantly, having your customers. As we go through this today, don't hesitate again to ask questions. Lastly but not leastly, you really don't need to take any notes today. Everything I will be presenting you with, I will actually send out at the end of this presentation just to reconcile everything we go over and ensure that everyone is comfortable with the material. Again, don't hesitate at a later date to reach out to me should you have any questions or concerns that we may be able to assist you with. So let's start at the very beginning, and I'm going to go with just some key points that, to a large degree, we assume have taken place before we're starting our new company here. I assume at this point you've registered your business with the Secretary of State, and you've got yourself a business license and registered yourself locally. These two key aspects are going to be key as we move forward from a reporting perspective. If that has not taken place at this point in time, and you do not currently have an EIN and number in hand for your business, this is something you're going to want to think about as you operate and have sales moving forward. One of the key aspects I like to remind everybody of when it comes to running your own business, but relates very specifically to taxes. And it is something I don't go too deeply into today, but something I'd like to remind everyone of, that if you're accruing taxes for sales in any way, you have to report on that. And so that's a key element of when small businesses start up, they get QuickBooks running, they may be accruing for it, but they are not necessarily reporting it. So as we go through this process today of setting QuickBooks up, ensuring you have all the necessary information in the system to be able to do these tasks at hand. Now, the fact that you've got your business set up and registered locally, you have an EIN number, enables the system to then go track that information and report it in the necessary counties, whether that be quarterly or biannually or annually. Moving forward from that point, there are a couple of other assumptions that you want to ensure that you have taken place within the system. You've registered your business with the QuickBooks, so the QuickBooks has your address for your business within the system profile page. And this is where we start from today. We're basically the very first step, once you have downloaded and installed the QuickBooks company file, is to set up a company file for your business. Now, this initial file is where all the data associated with your QuickBooks file will be saved. Understand that this file is traditionally a local file, and it is highly recommended that you back it up to a different location at some point in time to ensure you have some redundancy with this QuickBooks file. Understand there is a difference between the QuickBooks desktop file, which is a QBD file, and a QBO file, which is a QuickBooks Online file. You can convert a QuickBooks desktop file to a QuickBooks Online file, but you cannot convert a QuickBooks Online file back to a desktop. It is something to keep in mind as you start out with your new QuickBooks profile. So once QuickBooks is installed and you have entered the address and necessary information for your business, the very first page you're going to come to is the QuickBooks homepage. Now, this is the primary navigation page from which all entries in QuickBooks will take place. The key aspects of what you're seeing on this page gives you access to everything from creating an invoice, generating a bill, necessary reporting and or forecasting, and any other customizable items that you wish to have shown on this specific page, i.e. PO reports, cash flow reports, so on and so forth. The nice part about this homepage is you can customize it to your needs by adding or removing necessary shortcuts. As you start to utilize QuickBooks Desktop and get more comfortable with this interface, you will find that you will be adding and removing certain aspects of what you use more on a daily basis. As an example, an AP individual might prefer just to really have their homepage configured strictly to the AP side of things, where if you're running everything for your business, you might more be suited to a page as is seen in front of you, which really can address all your needs. Take your time to familiarize yourself with this page. It will help greatly in the navigation through QuickBooks. In many cases, to get to the point that you want to be is a simple matter of clicking on one of these shortcuts, as opposed to going through the column page on the left-hand side and navigating in that manner. Just a friendly reminder again that this page is customizable, and the initial page that you come to can be changed as necessary. Moving on from our homepage. One of the key aspects of QuickBooks is that each individual module, which you see on the left-hand side, is broken up specifically to track each different area, whether it relates to your customers, your vendors, your cash flow, your tax reporting. Each area is broken out individually to enable you to track those sectors by either going in and viewing the different customers or vendors that are associated in them. In this case, we are looking at the customer side of this relevant information. The Customer Center for Customers also houses all the customers on one side and the vendors on the other. Understand the difference between what those two are to you is key, and ensuring you have all the relevant information in for both your customers and your vendors as you move forward will streamline your efficiency in the way that you run QuickBooks. This means that when you set a customer up in QuickBooks, it's not just a matter of entering their name, but their address and all the relevant contact information associated with it. This will be a great help for you later on when you're invoicing your clients directly via email. It'll streamline the payment process. So the screen we're actually looking at right now is the customer slash vendor screen that I was referenced. In particular, this is the customer information screen. I just talked about ensuring we had all the necessary information for our customers and highlighting the fact that conversely, we need all this information for our vendors. In many cases, it is even more important for us to have that information on file for our vendors. So that's ensuring that we have W-9s on file for our tax reporting and our 1099s that will take place at the end of the year. Do your due diligence as you interact with your vendors to ensure that you have all relevant information on file, including a copy of their W-9, which is required to be updated on a yearly basis. This is something that is often overlooked when dealing with vendors, but is vital for your company from a reporting perspective. Again, taking the time to ensure that you're setting up both your vendors and your customers so that when you get to the screen and start looking at relevant information relating to your customers slash vendors, that it is all up to date. With that said, this is a great resource for you to look up your vendors and your customers very easily through the search bar at the top left-hand side. With that said, on the right-hand side is highlighted all the relevant information for either that customer or vendor. In this particular instance, we are looking at a customer's information, which will reflect any open invoices, payments, and or any other items that have been applied against their account over the specified period. In this case, referencing this year. Again, this can be customized to your needs and adjusted at any time. Do take the time to get more familiar with this page, as if you're in a specific area within your business that you know you're going to be interacting, i.e. you work specifically within accounts payable or conversely within accounts receivable. This is a high volume area within QuickBooks, which is where we see the most likelihood of errors taking place. So take the time when you're either entering bills Or conversely, take the time when you are invoicing your customers to ensure that all information is correct before you send it out. Moving on. One of the great aspects about QuickBooks Desktop and a feature that is available within QuickBooks Online is using the forms within QuickBooks. The forms enable you to create different templates that you can utilize to use everything from creating credit memos, invoices, and bills directly to clients, including quotes and many other items that may be necessary. The nice feature about these forms is that you can customize them to your specific needs in any manner that you choose, including adding your email address, contact information, and logo as referenced earlier. The nice thing about these forms is they can actually be exported into Word documents and customized there and imported back in. Once again, take the time when you're setting up QuickBooks to make sure that these templates are set up correctly. These are what your customers and vendors will be dealing with when they interact with you. Ensuring that you have all relevant information on these templates before you send them out to your clients will ensure that you are able to receive your payments in a more timely manner. Understanding that one of the biggest hurdles that small businesses have to overcome when they're starting up is cash flow management. And one of the biggest aspects of cash flow management is making it as easy as possible for your customers to be able to pay you. This is a key aspect of ensuring that you're getting paid in a timely manner by providing your customers with the necessary information. Again, a very easy page to work off to customize it to your needs. If you have any further inquiries regarding the forms, we can gladly set up a follow-up appointment to go over this in a little bit more detail. Getting paid. Let's talk a little bit about getting paid and creating sales receipts. So in many times these days when interacting with a customer, a sales receipt is necessary to show the customer that a payment has been applied against an invoice. The system can go ahead and automatically create these for you once the invoice and payment process has been set up within QuickBooks. The nice aspect about this is that it can be automated to automatically send this out to your clients as necessary. Not all businesses use these sales receipts anymore, but when a customer does need it, it can be tied directly to an invoice and a payment out there. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on sales receipts only because very few businesses utilize this anymore. If anyone does have more specific questions relating to sales receipts, most times these days, in lieu of sales receipts, most businesses do set up POs within the system, which you are able then to directly invoice against, as opposed to generating your sales receipt and sending it directly back. Creating an invoice. One of the key aspects of why we utilize QuickBooks is to manage the flow of cash, whether it's paying bills out to vendors to cover things like our overhead, or conversely speaking, billing our customers directly so that we can receive payment from them. Creating an invoice in QuickBooks once your customer is set up is very quick and very easy, but there are some key steps that need to take place before you can generate that invoice. And I like to stop here and just take a look at what those things are that need to take place. And there's one key aspect today that I don't go into, and that's key to this whole process. And there's a very specific reason I don't, and that's your chart of accounts. Now, when you first open up a new company file within QuickBooks, you will generate a default chart of accounts. Now, your chart of accounts are what manages the flow of information and data relating to your finances and your business within QuickBooks. It's designated by a name and a number that's associated with pretty much every aspect of every transaction that takes place within QuickBooks. This chart of accounts enables QuickBooks to do a number of things in the background that you don't always see, but is key to the setup of QuickBooks. Now, the great news for you is most businesses, when they initially start out, are ideal to start off with a default chart of accounts. This has a line item for your accounts payable, your accounts receivable, taxes, so on and so forth. As your business grows, you can go in and customize that chart of account to meet your more specific needs. If you're trying to track a specific expense, or you might start accruing for specific items within your business, you can start creating those line items within QuickBooks. The reason I don't go too deep into that today and only touch on that on the surface is you really shouldn't be going too far into it until all the other aspects of what we're talking about have taken place. Ensuring that your vendors are set up, that your customers are set up, that you're registered with the cities. All of that information is relevant to the situation at hand. The only point of it is the chart of accounts really is specific to your business. And as you start to utilize it, you will start to customize it to your needs. I do spend quite a bit of time in my intermediate class going over that structure, but I don't want to spend too much time diving into it. Again, at the end of this, if you have any questions regarding that, I have no problem sitting down and going over it, either in a one-on-one situation or setting an appointment at a later date for us to discuss this. With that said, I will talk just briefly about items. Now, items can be anything from services you provide to a product that you're selling within QuickBooks. The nice part about items within QuickBooks, that again, I go into a bit more depth within my intermediate class, is that you are able to enter an item at the cost that it costs you to purchase it. Have the markup built into QuickBooks so that when you invoice a client, you have an inventory reduction, but the system knows what you made from a margins perspective automatically. These are key aspects that you want to have an understanding with as you move your business forward and grow it, right? And understanding what that markup is and understanding where you're selling these particular items. And conversely speaking, what tends to happen is we find patterns taking place within this. So you have a product that is more popular, and conversely, as you plan and forecast out your next year, you can conversely go in and see what's taking place with your company when it comes to either a product or a service. Now, these item codes, as we build out the system, can relate to numerous things out there, whether it be a product or a service or a combination of things that make up a product, so that we have a clear understanding of what the cost is to the business before we apply our margins. So again, take the time to get comfortable with what is in QuickBooks, how it's set up. There's a saying in QuickBooks for as long as I've been teaching, and it's going on 25 years now. It's garbage in and garbage out. So you have to take the time to ensure that you're putting the correct and relevant information. And yes, at the beginning, it can be a little bit time consuming, but I cannot emphasize to you, I work with a number of different small businesses, accelerator companies, incubator companies, and the most successful ones out there are the ones that take the time to really understand their financials. And even if you don't have a financial knowledge base that you're starting from, having a clear understanding of where your finances is in regards to money going out the door and money coming in the door is key. And QuickBooks can help you get to that point. But the key aspect of ensuring that is that it is set up correctly. And, ask the questions. QuickBooks has a phenomenal knowledge base that's available to everyone online to go out there and ask the question. I can't tell you how many times I've taught a class and the question has come up in regards to QuickBooks, where if I go to the QuickBooks knowledge base, someone has asked the question and 1,000 people have answered it. So it's a great resource out there above and beyond the SBDC consultants to utilize if you run into concerns or questions that you may have in regards to this process. Again, to this day, I still use it with some of the questions that I run into. With that said, back to invoicing our customers. So once we've gone into our customers, we're right-clicking on the screen, we're clicking on the Create Invoice screen. We are then able to see our customer up in front of us, and it's simply a matter of selecting the items that we wish to invoice our customers for. Now, one of the aspects that we touched on earlier briefly is setting these items up separately. Once you have your items set up at that point, you can simply drop them down from this menu as you see on the screen. Now, if you have not set it up, it's simply a matter of clicking on the Add New button, which you can clearly see on the screen there, which opens up a simple window which will enable you to enter that item in. Again, it's recommended that you set this up before you go ahead and invoicing your customer, just so that you know you have all the relevant information in there. Again, the nice part about this is if you do track inventory through QuickBooks, the system has the ability to track your inventory and thus do an inventory reduction against the line items that are being tracked in here. Once the line item is entered, it's simply a matter of entering the quantity associated with this, and the system does all the rest for you. Now, when you are setting up these items within QuickBooks, you will mark them taxable or non-taxable, so the system will have a clear understanding when it is generating this invoice, what it is accruing for from a tax basis. This ties back to setting your customer up correctly. From a tax reporting purpose, what the system will do is look at your business address and the address that you are sending this item to, and then it will go ahead and generate the tax basis associated and will accrue it at the very bottom of the invoice on the lower right-hand corner. Once that's done, it's simply a matter of you to send the invoice to the customer via an email, which will enable the customer to then go ahead and pay that invoice online, which increases your ability to manage your cash flow. Couple of key points here. If at any time you have tax on an invoice, it means you're accruing. I touched on this at the beginning of this presentation. If you're accruing for tax, you have to report on tax. Get advice in regards to what that frequency should be. At a minimum, you should be reporting annually. Again, ignorance is no excuse in the eyes of the tax man, unfortunately. So please ensure that this is taking place. I have encountered a number of businesses that have walked in the door and just been told that they have 4 years worth of back taxes reporting that have to then spend the next 3 months working through to resolve. Again, if it's done correctly in the setup process, you will not run into these issues. With that said, when it comes to taxes in general, ensure that you have a good CPA on dial. It's like anything else in this world, a good plumber, a good mechanic, and a good CPA. With that said, moving on from the creating invoice page, understand that once an invoice is created, it resides within the customer. And as we looked at on the slides earlier, you do have the ability to go back and reference that invoice, edit that invoice, and adjust it in any way necessary. You also have the ability to issue out credit memos against the specific invoice if you know that there's damage or something associated with the product and or service that you are delivering to a specific customer. Receiving payments. That's part of what we do. Now, in many ways, I'm going to take a little bit of time to talk about this part of it, because I would say over the last 5 years, this is the part of QuickBooks that has undergone the biggest change with the many different payment methods that have come into our world. Now, at this point in time, I'm under the assumption that you have linked your bank account with your QuickBooks account. Very simple step of going into the banking module, clicking on linking account, it's going to ask for your name and your account number. Once that is set up, you do have the ability to sync QuickBooks directly with your account. A couple of key points I like to make here. One of the things from a reporting perspective, and a mistake that I commonly see when people are starting up QuickBooks and linking these accounts, is they tend to commingle their finances. So initially when they start up, they want to link it to their personal account so that they can manage the cash flow. Understand that every transaction is going to sync up with QuickBooks. And one of the key aspects of running a business is tracking your expenses, right? As they are an offset when we go to do our tax reporting. And commingling kind of makes that really muddy. And I highly recommend that you set up a separate business account that you can track your transactions through. This makes it a lot easier when you start to do your monthly close of your financials, and conversely speaking, when you do your yearly close of your financials. One of the key aspects of keeping you on track and ensuring that the reporting within QuickBooks is accurate is that you will need to close your books out at the end of each month and reconcile the account. This is a simple matter of entering the beginning and ending balance and then ensuring that QuickBooks ties back to these reflective balances. But again, If you have your personal finances commingled with your business, this can make this very difficult. I highly recommend, again, that you have a separate business account that you're operating out. With that said, once you do have that account set up, receiving payments is a simple matter of going into the customer payment screen and either receiving a check, rarely happens these days, or a payment via credit card system that you are then able to apply against open invoices. Most times when you come to the screen, it will list multiple open invoices for the customer, or in this case, just an individual invoice that's associated with the dollar amount that is being received from the customer. As you enter these invoices into the system and receive those payments, the system will total them up so that once you save and close out of the screen respectively, the deposit will be made directly to the bank, which will be reconciled with what's taking place in QuickBooks. Now, conversely speaking, this also takes place when the payments directly hit your bank account, as opposed to routing through QuickBooks. And what happens is every night at midnight, those transactions are then synced back up with QuickBooks. And in the morning, you simply come in and view the bank payments that have been made and reconcile those with open invoices. Again, a simple matter of opening up the payment and tagging it to the open invoice. Again, going through this process and ensuring that your customers are set up correctly makes this a very easy process to go through. Banking deposits. So banking deposits is another area that has changed pretty drastically over the last couple of years. The days where you would accumulate your checks and go in for a monthly deposit are things of the past. With desktop deposits and direct payments through the electronic systems that are out there, this system has completely shifted. With that said, there are some key rules that we always recommend that you do regarding deposits. Always ensure that you are going in and reviewing all your deposits on a daily basis. Remember, all deposits will post at midnight the prior night. So most mornings when you come back into the office, reviewing your banking system is an ideal way to stay on top of things. It is also the easiest way to catch errors, whether it be on your side or your customer underpaying or applying a payment against the incorrect invoice. Reviewing the payments that are coming in and taking time to ensure that they are tagged against the correct invoice will ensure that when you reconcile your accounts at the end of the month that you tie out correctly. Conversely speaking, taking the time to tag the correct payments against the correct invoices before we make the direct payment to the bank is also important. The reason for this is payments that are received through QuickBooks and not through the bank are not posted until the deposit is done in QuickBooks. Now, these days, the most common time I see this is when check deposits are done, which is few and far between. Most electronic payments are able to be reviewable the very next day in QuickBooks and deposit directly to your bank account. Again, making sure that you're comfortable with this process and reviewing on a daily basis will ensure that you're able to stay on top and manage your cash flow. Bill tracker and paying others in QuickBooks. So the paying others in QuickBooks, I'm not going to spend too much time on because the payment system within QuickBooks is a very, very simple process. Just as your customers have the ability to pay you directly through QuickBooks, so do you have the ability to electronically pay your customers pay your vendors directly through QuickBooks as well. This is a great and expedient way for you to pay your vendors and know when that payment has cleared your bank account. Conversely speaking, making sure that your accounts are set up correctly so that you can expedite these payments for your vendor will enable you to build good credit for your business and in turn improve the net days that they give you from a payment perspective. Understanding that getting better payment terms from your vendors enables you to manage your cash flow. How is this so? One of the key aspects that I like to spend time talking about with new businesses is how important the relationship is with your vendors. Many times as we start up as a new business, we're so focused on the relationship with our client and the products and services that we're providing them that we don't always see the value in the vendors that we work with. But for a growing new business and specifically, interacting in the relationship that you have with your vendors is key. And here's why. Vendors are the area that most impacts your cash flow from a new business perspective as you start up. Think of it this way. The first time you ever went to go provide a product or a service to support your business as a new business, you weren't given any terms when it came to buying that product. As an example, you walked in and you wanted to buy something that supported your business. It could be anything from toilet rolls to the paper on the desk that you were using in a meeting. The issue at hand is you had to pay for that item right there and there. As your business grows and you interact with those vendors over time, you will get terms that are associated with the payment time that you need to pay that vendor over. The longer those terms are, the more you're able to manage your cash flow from a growth perspective with your business. Understanding that improving the credit that your business had and those net terms is a way of managing your cash flow and in turn managing the growth of your business. This is a key aspect that is sometimes lost on individuals as they grow their small business. So ensuring that you have a good rapport with the vendors that you interact with, it's not only important for your business as a whole, but it's important for you to grow your business as well. Understanding that over time, it is okay to go out and approach your vendor about getting better terms in regards to the payment schedule that you have with them. Ideally, at the beginning, it's really hard for business to manage this because they don't have. But again, that relationship is key. With that said, QuickBooks has a great way of managing your bill tracker for you, where your cash is going out the door, whether it be from a cash forecasting perspective, i.e. running your AP each week so you can view what cash is actually going out the door. Conversely, running your AR, your accounts receivable, to see what payments should be coming in the door. These are great tools that QuickBooks can provide you to wrap your arms around the cash flow scenario that you are in with your business. And that is the key aspect that you will need to manage and grow your business moving forward. Bill Tracker is a great way for you to view your vendors in this area. By going in, you can see the bills that are due, i.e. what is highlighted in blue, orange, red, and green on the screen. You can click on any of these bars to go into these different expense categories and see the breakout associated with these different expenses. Take the time to familiarize yourself with the expenses that are associated with your business. Remember, this is your company, and growing it means that you need to understand the expenses that are hitting your business and conversely, the cash that is going out the door. Take the time to always review your AP each week and your receivables to have a clear understanding of what that looks like. Also, take the time to be doing your bank reviews on the other side to see if there are any activity at your bank that does not align with what is taking place in QuickBooks. This is a great way for you to have a check and balance in regards to the financial activity that is taking place within your business. Writing checks. I spend so little time doing this, and when I started this class, I used to spend so much time talking about this. Very, very few and far in between. It is a very simple process. Once you're prompted to pay an invoice, you have the option to do it either electronically, which I see about 95% of the time, but you do also have the ability to write checks. The other area that I do see this in is for payroll at times where people are still issuing payroll checks. And the method that is used to both write a check and do a payroll check is exactly the same. So once you get to this screen from either the invoice payment screen or the payroll screen, the most important aspects that you want to look at here is making sure that you've selected the correct bank account. This goes back to that linking the bank account that we talked about earlier. You always want to make sure if you have multiple accounts for your business, that account that you should be paying out of is reflective on the screen. You also want to ensure that the balances that is reflected on the screen, i.e. on the top right-hand corner there, ties back to what you have in your bank account. Again, making sure that all relevant information for the specific check is in the system is key. The nice part about this, though, is if the information and/or the customer has been set up, the system will populate it automatically for you. Couple of key aspects here that you do want to pay attention to, most importantly, would be the check number. The check number can sometimes be auto-populated, but it is very important that you ensure that the check number that is reflected on the screen ties back to the check number on the stock that you're placing on the printer. Again, this is done so few and far in between these days. I really don't spend too much time going into it. With that said, at the bottom, you can clearly break out what the expense category is, as you can see in this case, retail. And then it's simply a matter of saving, closing, and printing. Again, ensuring that the check numbers tie out is the single most important aspect of this. If they are off by even a digit, you will have to go back in, void it out, destroy the old check, and repeat this process. Take the time to familiarize yourself if this is something you're going to be doing regularly. With that said, this is probably the most infrequent area of QuickBooks use that I see these days. Entering bills. So the entering of bills in the system is a key aspect of how you track your expenses. And taking the time to itemize out these details so that you can track them at a specific level is going to be key. In many cases, as your business grows, tracking these expenses and itemizing them at the individual level will enable you really to have a clear understanding of what you're spending your money on. Conversely, this will enable you to manage your cash flow more effectively. The item coding that we talked about earlier is going to be key here. This is going to enable you to track specific areas of your business at a specific line item. Now, this can range anything from things like utilities, water, all the way down to product development, investment, and anything else associated with your business from an expense standpoint. Taking the time to ensure that all the necessary item codes are set up regarding the items that you want to track for your business is key. This is where the relationship between the chart of accounts that we talked about earlier and the item coding come together. Once these items are set up correctly, it enables you to start generating reporting around these specific line items. Once you can generate this reporting, you can conversely start generating forecasting reporting, which is key as you plan out your business and growth over time. Again, making sure that all relevant information relating to the bill is entered in the system. Key areas to pay attention to: ensuring that the bill is applied in the correct period. If a bill is received in a specific month, it should be entered in the period that it is related to. There is no point in accruing bills over time and entering them all at once. Again, what we're going to utilize QuickBooks for down the line is forecasting out your expenses, which in turn will help you grow. You want to ensure that you're capturing the expenses in the month that they take place. Again, when you go to reconcile with your bank account at the end of this process, ensuring that those bills are in the same month that either the payment was received or applied will help you reconcile your system at the end of the month. So lastly, in regards to bills in the system, most cases these days, they are paid electronically directly through your bank account or via credit card. You do have the ability to put that on the system and pay directly through there as well. Simply a matter of going back into the banking system and adding it in the same manner that you added a bank account. Paying bills within the system. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time about paying multiple bills in the system. Once the bank account has been set up within the system, it's simply a matter of going into the bills that are due. Now, the nice part about this that QuickBooks does for you is it will actually generate a report for you on a weekly basis of what bills will be due for the following week. Again, you heard me recommend earlier that you get comfortable each week with going in and looking at your accounts payable, the bills you need to pay, and accounts receivable, the payments that you will be receiving in. Each week, those numbers should tie out so that you're always in the positive, so that you're managing your cash flow. With that said, you can specify one day a week that you will then pay your bills out to help you manage your cash flow internally. This is simply a matter of going into the pay bills report and selecting the bills that are due for that period. Then ensuring the date associated for that on the lower left-hand corner, and conversely, the account that they will be paid out of. Once this is done, it's simply a matter of hitting the Pay Selected Bill screens for these payments to be processed out. With that said, if you were using the right check feature that we talked about earlier, This is the same place where those checks would be printed out at this point in time. If not, we will proceed to electronically pay these bills out directly from your bank account. No questions so far. Guys are making this way too easy for me. So, my favorite part about QuickBooks. The great part about QuickBooks, when we go ahead and complete all the tasks that we have talked about today, is that we start to get a real insight into what is taking place with our business. At the core of our business is the management of our cash flow, cash in and cash out. And I've reiterated that multiple times today. But once we start to have a clear understanding of what that looks like, we're able to gain more insight into what our business is actually doing. Conversely speaking, just like what we talked about at the beginning of this presentation, you're able to customize the homepage to really reflect what you want to see regarding your company. We can go ahead and put up every kind of financial, from a profit to loss statement to an income statement to an expense statement, basically forecasting out the upcoming expense. This gives you a snapshot of exactly where your business is at on a daily basis, and is a nice way for you to stay on top of your finances as it relates to your business from a daily perspective. Taking the time to ensure that you clearly understand what you're looking at and how it relates to your daily business is going to be key to your business as you move forward. Take the time to customize this page towards the items that you are looking for. If you're concerned about the profit and loss, ensure that you see the screen on a daily basis so that you can help manage or gain a clearer understanding of what is taking place with your business. More importantly, clearly understand the expenses that are coming up for your business, and planning accordingly will help you manage your cash flow and grow your business moving forward. The Report Center. So one of the best features about QuickBooks Desktop is the Report Center. I'm a big fan of the Report Center for a number of different reasons. The biggest reason I would say is that you have every kind of report that you can basically imagine that has either been created or customized in some way to meet somebody else's needs. The nice part about this is, depending on what you're looking for, it's very easy for you to go in and find exactly what you're looking for. Whether it's a report on your existing vendors, customers, your payment history, your banking history, your cash forecast history, your accounts receivable history. Building these reports out gives you clear and detailed insight to exactly what is taking place for your business. More importantly, the ability to customize these reports and export them out as your business grows gives you the ability to build customizable forecast reporting. As your business grows and looks for either investment and or loans to grow them, one of the key aspects that you will have to address is the financial reporting that goes along with it. If you've done all the things that we have talked about today, you will put yourself in a clear position to be able to utilize this reporting to then go out and go ahead and either work on receiving that investment, or the investors looking for the necessary reporting to make them feel comfortable with investing in your company. As I work with small companies, this is a key aspect that they have to wrap their arms around from a growth perspective. And having a clear picture of what is taking place with your business today means that you can have a better understanding of forecasting out where your business will be moving forward. Again, taking the time to customize these reports to your specific needs can help you expedite the monthly closing process as well. Building specific reports that can report on the closing process and will enable you to reconcile your banking account statements that much quicker. Take the time to get familiar with this, as it will be a huge benefit for you moving forward. Company Snapshot. So the Company Snapshot we actually talked on a little bit earlier. This is just a little bit more in-depth perspective on it. The nice part about the Company Snapshot is really it can present any part of your business profile and will give you real-time information of where you are at today. Things like how much your customers owe you. The snapshot time. This is a snapshot of the money going in and out of your business over time. Use this section to compare monthly income and expenses. Again, this same screen is generated in the reporting that we were looking at on the prior slide. With that said, this screen is highly customizable to exactly what you would like at. Things like including your bank balances, your receivables, your accounts payable, even things like your credit card, assets, liability, and equity accounts, all can be seen on the company snapshot page. The nice part about this page is as your company grows, you can add the necessary reporting that you are looking for. You can conversely remove it as it is not necessary. Other aspects about this page that are really nice is you can customize the access to individuals that are utilizing it. If you have individuals working within your company from a financial perspective, you can limit this access on this page in regards to what they are seeing as well. Profit and loss. At the end of the day, it all comes down to the checks and balances that you put in place throughout QuickBooks to ensure that your business is running effectively. The nice part about putting all those checks and balances in place is it gives you a clear insight into exactly what is taking place with your business. The best report for doing that within QuickBooks is going to be your profit and loss report, also known as your income statement. Basically, it summarizes income and expenses for a particular period so that you can tell whether you're operating at a profit or loss. The nice aspect about this is this takes into account all the interactions with all your bank accounts. So the system has a clear understanding of what is taking place from your business from a cash flow perspective over that period of time. The other part about this is that you can customize this profit and loss report to reflect on a specific period, semi-annually or annually. Take the time to get comfortable with the report and the line items in the report. Again, they tie directly back to the items and the chart of accounts that we talked about earlier. This report will show the totals for each income or expense amount in your chart of accounts. You can double click on the subtotal to see the transactions that make up this amount. Again, instead of digging through the AP or the AR side, this gives a concise view on exactly what is taking place. Again, you are able to directly click on each line item and see the line items totaling up to that specific dollar amount. Balance sheet. So the balance sheet is basically a financial snapshot of exactly where your company is at on a specific day. The very easy way to go ahead and get it in regards to the report itself, it's simply a matter of going into the reports module on the left-hand side, clicking on the company's financials, the balance sheet standings, the report you're going to want to make. Do want to reiterate at this point in time, you do have the ability to go in and customize this report to track specific items in there or to exclude items as well. So key aspects about this report that reflect on your business is it's going to track things like assets are everything on your business owns, including monies owed to you. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this. This is the entirety of your business. Liabilities are everything that your business owes. And so this statement is broken out into two key areas, your assets and your liability. And conversely, the last aspect of the balance sheet is the equity. Equity is similar to the individual's net worth. It's what your company owns minus what you owe. So again, a real clear understanding of where your business is at a specific date is what you will find on the balance sheet. Again, all the items that we talked about earlier being set up correctly lead you to this point that you know the information that you're seeing on the screen is correct. These key things are going to be vendors being set up correctly, customers being set up correctly, bank accounts being set up correctly, reconciling your bank accounts with QuickBooks at the end of the month to ensure that all the information is correct. And that is all I have for today. Probably the fastest class I've ever gone through without a single question. So I'm not really sure who's on the call with us today. And if they have any questions, concerns, or thoughts about what I went through, We have a ton of available time on our hands, so don't hesitate to throw any questions out. Conversely speaking, everything I went over today, I will be sending out in an email. So again, no notes were necessary, but we will get that out to you.
Thank you. Isaac, it looks like you're the only one we have right now as far as attendees go. Do you have any questions or anything specific that you were interested in addressing with your QuickBooks specifically? I'll give you a couple minutes if you do want to chime in with anything. But I have a couple quick slides to share just to wrap us up. All right, thank you, Damon, for such an informative workshop as always. It's always great to hear from such a knowledgeable resource on QuickBooks. You definitely are an authority on it. So if anybody does have any questions, I will send a follow-up email with Damon's contact information, and he should be reaching out as well with the slides. And as a reminder, I will also be sending today's recording out to all registrants. And as far as upcoming events go, we have a digital advertising masterclass next Wednesday, June 1st. This will be a hybrid workshop as well. We will have in-person options at the CIE Hot House in downtown San Luis Obispo, or you can attend virtually via Zoom as well. This will be taught by Steve Burnside. He is a marketing expert. So if you have any questions on how to grow your business online and expand your presence there, highly recommend that one if you'd like to attend. And then the following week, we have our monthly coffee and conversation, but this upcoming one in June is a very special one. We have David Walker, one of the co-founders of Firestone Walker Brewing Company, pretty big popular craft brewing label, just kind of talking about their journey and how the company evolved from, just making beer in a backyard to the large organization that it is today. So that should be a really, really interesting one. And you can go to our events page to sign up for any of those. But that is all that I have. It doesn't look like we've had any questions come up. So thank you so much to everyone for attending today. And thank you, Damon. We will be sending out that recording here shortly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.